And joining me now are two experts to talk about this quest for a vaccine. From Houston, we have Dr. Peter Hotez. He's the director of the Texas Children's Hospital Center for Vaccine Development. And from Boston, we have Dr. Dan Baruch, director of the Center for Virology and Vaccine Research at the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you. Dr. Baruch, I just want to get you to react to something this morning. The FDA had Dr. Stephen Hahn at 6:30 this morning tweeted the following: with the country starting to open up this holiday weekend, I again remind everyone that the coronavirus is not yet contained. It is up to every individual to protect themselves and their community. Social distancing, hand washing, and wearing masks protect us all. It's just interesting, Dr. Baruch, to see one of the administration scientists, health experts, feeling the need to continue to remind the public of this. Do you think the public is as informed about this risk this weekend as they should be?
I think the public is very well informed, and there is a tension between the need to contain the virus and people's desire to get out of their houses. So the hope is that through public health measures, as well as eventually the development of a vaccine, that we will be able to contain this virus.
Let's talk about this race for a vaccine. Dr. Baruch, I want to start with you on this. We keep hearing this timeline of 12 to 18 months. Is that the heart or the head speaking?
The development of a vaccine traditionally is a very long process. Often it takes many years, even decades, for a new pathogen for which the human race has not seen before. So the attempt to develop a vaccine in 12 to 18 months, or potentially even less than that, is truly unprecedented. And to be successful, multiple parameters will have to be successful all at the same time. So I believe that it is theoretically possible. However, it is certainly not guaranteed. And if that were to be the case, then many, many things would have to go perfectly the first time.
Dr. Peter Hotez, you've been on the forefront of researching a vaccine for SARS. And let me ask you this. On one hand, that research may help expedite this vaccine. On the other hand, we still don't have one for SARS. What should that tell us?
Well, thanks for having me. You know, we spent a decade researching, developing vaccines for SARS, as you point out. And the quick answer was that if you can elicit high levels of a certain type of antibody, known as neutralizing antibody, which blocks the virus from attaching to its receptor, you can make a vaccine. And we've been able to achieve that in the laboratory in experimental animals. And what I love this week was Dan Baruch wrote this absolutely beautiful paper in Science magazine, more or less coming to the same conclusion about SARS-2, the cause of COVID-19. So that tells me that the technical challenge of developing a COVID-19 vaccine is not that daunting. It's kind of a straightforward question that involves some old school virology, very established attempts at making a vaccine. So I'm confident we're going to have a vaccine, or as Dr. Fauci often says, cautiously optimistic. The problem is this: It does take time to accumulate enough safety and data to show that it actually works. And that's going to be the hard part. It's not a manufacturing problem. It's going to take us time to actually show that this will be both safe and effective, and I doubt we'll have that within a few months.
And I'm curious, Dr. Hotez, what's the likelihood that it's going to be 100% effective, the first vaccine? Is it more likely that we're going to have an experience like we have with the flu shot, which, in some years, at best, it's a 50% protector from that year's flu virus?
Yeah, it's quite possible. What we're seeing from some vaccines is that they're partially protective, meaning they don't protect 100%, but they may reduce hospitalization and deaths, which is still very important. The point is, the first vaccines released out of the starting gate, say a year from now or a year and a half from now, may not be the ones we wind up with. History tells us that they get replaced with new and improved vaccines. So this is a gradual process. It's not like there's going to be a magic bullet a year from now. It'll take time. We'll see new and improved vaccines, but things will get better.
Dr. Baruch, we saw, how concerned should we in the public be that some pharmaceutical companies let's look at Moderna, for instance. They announced what looked like a breakthrough. Their stock price surges. People on the company seem to get rich off of it. They look to even raise more money after that. And I understand the way the pharmaceutical business works in some cases, and maybe this was necessary to get the money for the research. But does that impact the public's credibility into this vaccine research?
There actually has been quite a number of pieces of good news on the vaccine front this week. Moderna's announcement of safety and at least early immunogenicity data in their study, as well as safety and immunogenicity of another vaccine that was reported from China, as well as our studies in the animal models, all are pointing towards increased optimism that a vaccine is likely going to be possible. However, there are many steps that remain.
All right, but to follow up on that question, I hear you, the good news. Are you worried, though, that when the accompanying stories are about how, and this has made them a whole bunch of money, and it looks like in some cases they want to use that hype to raise more money, that it looks like someone researching a vaccine is more interested in a profit margin?
Well, I think it's always better to have data available to the scientific community at the time of an announcement. And so we hope that the data from the Moderna studies will be available soon, and I hear that they are preparing for that.
Dr. Hotez, you've been concerned about the phrase Operation Warp Speed. Dr. Fauci also has. Explain to our viewers why that phrase in particular concerns you.
Well, what I'm concerned about, Chuck, is, we've got a very aggressive anti-vaccine movement out there. And, their central tenets are, one, that vaccines cause autism. And I've spent a lot of my life refuting that. I wrote because I'm a vaccine scientist, the parent of an adult daughter with autism, and wrote this book, Vaccines Did Not Cause Rachel's Autism, which has made me public enemy #1 with the anti-vaccine movement. But the other things that they allege is, one, that vaccines are not adequately tested for safety, that we rush vaccines, and that there's this cozy relationship between the pharma companies and the U.S. government. And so everything that's been happening with some of the things Moderna has been doing and others, plays right into all of the assertions made by the anti-vaccine lobby, to the point. And the White House Operation Warp Speed phraseology, which is just awful. So I worry, and the numbers now support this. Reuters just published a study this last week saying that 25% of Americans probably won't take COVID-19 vaccines, even if they're made available. And to the point where I'm worried we won't have sufficient herd immunity to achieve all of our desired effects. So that creates a lot of concerns.
Dr. Brook, you brought up the good news that we heard out of China. Let me ask you this. Are you concerned if China gets the vaccine first and they're sort of the quote-unquote winner here and they're sharing it with the world, are you concerned the public might be leery of taking a vaccine from China?
Well, Chuck, what we need is not one vaccine. The world actually needs multiple vaccines because there are 7 billion people in the world, and we hope that the number of people who take the vaccine is greater than the 75% that Dr. Hotez mentioned. But still, we're talking about billions of people in the world that will need to be vaccinated. So this is not a race to be first. This is a global cooperation in which multiple regions of the world and multiple companies need to work together to develop vaccines for a very, very large number of people.
All right. Dan Baruch from Boston, Peter Hotez in Harvard, and Peter Hotez from Baylor with us from Houston. Thank you both for sharing your expertise with our viewers. Much appreciated. Have a safe Memorial Day weekend. And hello from Washington. I'm Chuck Todd, and thanks for checking out the Meet the Press channel on YouTube. Click on the button down here to subscribe, and click over here to watch the latest interviews, highlights, and other digital exclusives.